Hi folks, Barnaby Dorfman here with Foodista.com, and I'm really excited to be interviewing Cybele Pascal, the author of a series of allergy-free cookbooks. We reconnected recently. We actually went to high school many years ago together, and today she has a new cookbook that we're going to be talking about, which I have right here, Allergy-Free Cooking. It's actually Allergy-Free and Easy Cooking, which is one of her latest editions. And so welcome, Cybele.
Hi, thank you for having me on this Google video chat.
Wonderful, thank you. I was thinking maybe as a start, you could just tell us how you got into the whole allergy-free cooking space and category, if you will.
Absolutely. It's been a very serendipitous process for me. I actually began cooking at the high school that you and I went to together. My job was to cook the nightly vegetarian meal for the 50 vegetarians at our school. So that's how I really got interested in cooking in the first place, but never planned to have it be my career. And then my son, Lennon, who is now 11, was diagnosed with multiple severe food allergies when he was 4 months old. So it really completely changed the way I looked at preparing food. I had to eliminate the top 8 allergens from everything that at that time I was eating. I was breastfeeding him, so I had to be put on what's called a maternal avoidance diet, which means that I couldn't eat anything that might pass through to him. And so I was on that for many, many months. And then once he started eating solid foods, he was also on an avoidance diet. So he couldn't eat any of the top 8 food allergens. So I started writing recipes down for us because there weren't any top 8 free recipes out there that I could find. There were no cookbooks for people like us. And as I started writing recipes, and luckily my history as a cook, which I had done for many years, for in the summers or after college, really served me well because I was able to start creating recipes for us. And then as I accumulated enough recipes, I realized I should write a cookbook for the other people out there like us. And then sort of that's where it all began. And from then on, I was an allergy-friendly cooking expert by default.
Great, and so you've written several cookbooks. How many? What was the
This is
first
my
one?
third book. This Allergy-Free and Easy Cooking is my third.
Wow, great. And maybe tell us a little bit about why, I mean, so this is about allergy-free easy cooking. Why the shift, why the focus on easy?
Interestingly enough, okay, so my first book I wrote, it came out in 2005, and it took me a few years to write it. And I just sort of did the recipes that I liked, but I made them allergy friendly. And I would do things like slow braised lamb stew or short ribs, foods that I really loved to eat, and were from my foodie experience. And a lot of kid-friendly foods, but many foodie types of recipes. And those recipes were really great, but one of the things I realized after that cookbook came out is that a lot of people who have to cook allergy-free don't necessarily want to cook, don't have any experience with cooking, and are forced to do so by necessity. So they really want it to be as simple as possible. They don't want to spend 4 hours marinating something. They want to just do it quickly. So I really wanted to meet that demand for those out there who are forced to cook but don't want to, and to make it more pleasurable and easier for them. So that was like, you know what? I'm going to write a book full of 30-minute meals for people like, and I, quite frankly, at this point in my life, when I was writing my first cookbook, I only had 1 kid, and I wasn't working full-time, and I had the time. Now I have a full-time job, I have 2 kids, and I'm running around, so I don't want to spend more on a regular weeknight than 30 minutes putting something together. So that's why I did it. And it was
Gotcha.
also a challenge, quite frankly.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can relate. I mean, I love to cook, but some cookbooks, like the French Laundry cookbook, practically every recipe starts out on day one, and
Right.
you're in for a long process. One of the questions I had was, do you think that there are health benefits for people who don't have food allergies eating with this diet? And then also maybe if you could define kind of what is allergy-free cooking, like what are the specific things that you avoid?
Sure. Well, to start out, there are 8 foods that account for 90% of food allergies. So those
Wow.
8 foods are dairy, eggs, wheat, soy, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish. That's 90% of food allergy sufferers are reacting to those foods. And in Canada, there's actually a 9th one, which is sesame. So that's included in their top list. And I think that probably will be added in the United States as well. So those are the foods, and I do think that there are benefits to eating a top 8 allergen-free diet. I think that I consider it sort of clean eating because by default you're really not eating any processed foods because you go to the store and you look at a processed food, you look at a can of something, right? Generally, there's going to be a derivative of soy or of wheat, but that it's been processed. It's not even in its original form. So I think it's by default, by eating an allergy-free diet, you're also eating a whole foods diet because you're not eating these processed foods. And I think that improves your health. I think the other thing that I've discovered about eating this way, and I've been eating this way now for 10 years, is that, and let it be said, I also have food allergies, just to put it out there.
Okay.
Not just my kids. But I find that it's, instead of limiting my world, it's actually expanded my world. So yes, you can't eat any of these top 8 foods, but that forces you to think in new ways about other types of foods. So in fact, it's completely expanded my horizons. So I'm thinking about things like ancient grains, right? I didn't ever think about cooking with ancient gluten-free grains like quinoa and amaranth and sorghum and millet. I wasn't using those before I was forced to eliminate wheat from our diet. So, and they're incredibly nutritious. So right there, you've got fiber and all these nutrients, these vitamins. That's a really, really great and unexpected benefit, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that I've heard that from so many people who, for one reason or another, have eliminated elements of kind of what you would call a normal diet from their diet, and it does open your horizons. As I was reading through your book, one of the items I'd never heard of was coconut amino acids. Um,
Okay. You're so smart to focus on that. It's interesting. I just did an interview about the chicken lettuce cups recipe, which uses my homemade hoisin sauce, which I make with these coconut amino acids. And I was so hoping they would ask me about them, and they didn't. So thank you for asking about those. That ingredient is fantastic. One of the funnest things about this book for me is I've done a lot of Asian recipes, and because it's very hard to find Asian food that's wheat free and soy free, and often has Asian food often has fish sauce in it and nuts, and so I really wanted to focus on that. So I created all these Asian sauces, and the backbone of those sauces, for many of them, is this coconut amino acids, which are excuse me, they're a raw food, and it's fermented coconut sap, and it really has this incredible, like, the tangy, salty, sweet thing, the umami of soy sauce. I wouldn't just throw it on, fried rice on its own and expect it to do the job, but when you mix it with other ingredients, it really can approximate those flavors that you would expect in, say, a hoisin sauce or a teriyaki sauce. So that's been one of my favorite. One thing about that ingredient, though, is if you go buy it, excuse me, guys, it's early. If you go buy it, because it's fermented and it's traveled generally from the Philippines, when you open it, it may explode because it's very, very fizzy with the fermentation. So I've had a couple of experiences where I've opened it and it's gone, so just make sure it's stabilized.